Actually, the women in this company are very smart. Sometimes I feel like I don't know anything. They are very, very smart and very, very focused and they know what they are doing. Like when they take a project, like let's say you've interviewed Salim, for example. I've worked with her. I love how she leads projects.
My name is Anne Salim. I'm currently one of the senior product managers at Qhala, and my work revolves around building software for clients, and we have a big project on creatives that we're working on. In Qhala, I've taken on different roles. I've always worked as an innovation lead consultant, so my previous projects have revolved around linking startups to big corporates. One of the projects you might be familiar with is the Britam and the Bonfire Adventures success story. So we were the team behind the scenes.
My name is Lois Ouma. I serve at Qhala as Chief of Staff. I work under the leadership of Shiko, the CEO. But my role again entails working with different teams to just make sure projects flow and are delivered at a certain time. So we also don't make the client frown. Heavy on the project delivery, but also very passionate about people just to make sure the resources are aligned. So I work closely also with the HR, finance, literally all the teams to make sure there's a lot of sanity around Qhala and our culture is carried on across everything that we do.
I am actually in academics and industry. So in academics, I actually lecture in School of Computing at Technical University of Kenya. Now for this particular case here, I'm consulting with Qhala, and here we're doing much of research and looking at the digital platforms and how people are actually using this particular platform. So for instance, right now we're actually looking at one of the projects that is very key is where we're looking at dignity of women who are actually working on digital platforms. So we're saying something like, how does a woman define dignity, contextualizing dignity when it comes to maybe some of these spaces. And this space is a place of, are we fair? Are these spaces fair? Not only just fair, are these spaces like, am I respected in a space? Am I given time to be able to just spend time with my family and also still be able to actually like work? Or am I an absentee mom? So it's really interesting when it comes to that particular space, what you're like getting from that.
We have a great women network here because this company is majority women, I guess. And so I love to see how we work with each other with different skills. I might be great at building, but maybe I'm not great at the UX part. So there's a great UXer who can show me the ropes. So there's also a top-down and bottom-up approach in terms of exchanging skills and narratives. We have a great CEO from Shiko who nurtures us through mentorship and providing us with leadership opportunities. So she sends us out to speak about stuff. When she's pushing us to do that, she's pushing us to be exposed to new opportunities. And if we can pay it back by encouraging the women in our teams to do the same. So not always taking up all the opportunities for ourselves.
Having done IT in school, a few years ago, you'd find that it's hard for you to be in a class and you have like a 50-50% balance. But while I was in school, which was not so long ago, you'd find like you have probably, even if it's all 50-50, maybe like 60-40% balance. And that's when you can see like many women, many young ladies are interested in growing their career in the tech space.
I joined Qhala as a research fellow and transitioned to marketing and communications, but now I'm transitioning to data. I would say generally I'm intrigued by tech, the fact that tech is wide, the fact that there are so many things to learn. And I would say the foundation for data science for me was in undergrad. I did actuarial science and there's some bit of R in programming. So my interest grew from there. So getting into a company that has data as a department is sort of a win for me because now I can practice it. I can get to see how data works. I can get to see how the department works and just get to find my way around it and be part of the team.
It's amazing, a blessing. I would say I wouldn't really take it for granted. There's so many people that could have been here, and that's the good thing about working at Qhala. There's always opportunity for growth. I mean, I came in here as the CEO's EA. You're being stretched. You're not a typical EA. You're on projects, you're on meetings, you're meeting clients, and you're running sessions. So in a span of 2 or 3 years, you're completely something else. I mean, I came with a marketing course. I recently signed up to a data analytics course because I guess I got the tech bag. So that is what Qhala does, and maybe even the tech space does to you. It's very spontaneous. It forces you to just grow and change as the wind goes. Tech is very wide. There's research. You could get into tech as a lecturer, for example, education. You could get into tech as a writer, a tech writer. And tech does not exist in a bubble. If there's a tech company, for example, like at Qhala, we need other departments to support the core function, which our core function is tech, but we need other departments to support it. So you could get into, for example, Qhala or tech space as a marketer. You could get into the tech space even as an admin. There's an opportunity for you to work and learn tech even as admin. What does it mean to work as an admin in the tech space? How do you carry out your functions? So there's the research, there's education. You could also be an entrepreneur in the tech space. Yeah. We've had, Kenya is privileged at this point, with innovation, especially among women. We are seeing a group of women coming up in the innovation space where they can not only create employment, but empower other women to also get into that space.
First, a woman lecturer in a computing space. It's a space where people think that it's only a male-dominated area. Now, to make matters worse, I don't know if I look young. Maybe they can actually tell us if I look young. A woman's space who looks young. Question is, what are they going to actually tell us? So I remember I started in school. I actually started off with it's actually most of the time a class of computing. You actually find a lot of men. So we're talking about like if there are 30 of them, there's a very high possibility you'll actually find like 25 of them being men, maybe 5 of them being women. And it is your work now to actually make sure that these women feel like they can actually be able to actually like do more or do much than what they actually like maybe deem themselves to be. So I remember in a class, I started just talking and I observed a young man pointing, just called another young man and did this. At that particular moment, I didn't know what, as in I could not tell you, as in like what I actually felt. As in, was it a space where it affirmed me, or was it a place where I felt already walking into a space where I'm already judged? That this particular person only knows maybe how to just cook and make recipes for chapatis and all that stuff. Yeah, by the way, I'm really good in making chapatis, just to put it in there. So we're actually just looking at that particular space is that as a woman, already there's a stereotype. And unfortunately, we get to feed into it that we are not good enough. So we get to actually now tend to just like curl up in our own corners and say, oh, the only thing I can actually be able to do is just knit. Or the only thing I can be able to do is just do this and this. But we're just in a space where we're having a lot of people coming in and just empowering young women and telling them, you guys can actually like do more.
From uni, I think so, because I did IT in university. Then took a bit of a break and started focusing on my certifications. So I did cybersecurity, so right now I'm growing that area. I don't think it's a must, a requirement for you to study it, but what I can say is I think it's important for you to know some really important aspect of cybersecurity, such that when it comes to doing your data, even just protecting your own workspace, you have the things that you need to know before you actually start to progress.
I love to build things. I've been building things since when I was in campus. I've mostly focused on the edtech and governance spaces, where I was looking at how technology can improve access to learning and how technology can increase transparency in governance. So my previous careers have revolved around that. Now I'm just looking at how technology can simplify things. So from a personal perspective, I look at the hardware space to see how kids can tinker more with hardware. And then from a work perspective, I'm looking at what softwares can we build to increase collaboration. You know what happened is in 2013, we ran this project with kids and we brought old electronics into the office and we told them, break everything. And then we started learning with everything inside. And that was fascinating. we used to also have interns in the office who could just explore stuff. And I was like, why didn't I have these opportunities? I was mostly tomboyish growing up, climbing trees and stuff. So I've only gotten more excited about it since 2013.
After high school, actually, I wanted to take a short course in data science, but I was like, it's too hard for me. I don't want anything that's going to pressure me right now. My boss has told me I have to do something to do with tech. I have to know tech if I'm working in a tech company. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'm willing to explore. So I'm actually going to start my classes in data science pretty soon. I feel like the universe just brought me back to data science. Yeah, like I have to do it. Like I can't escape right now. I can't escape. I have no way out.
As women, we literally look down on ourselves. It is not at times not even the society looking down on ourselves. It's kind of like something that has actually been internalized in us. And I don't want to say it's innate, no. It's just something that maybe with the background of where you actually like come from, you do not see a lot of women. Like now, for my case, literally, unless my dad would actually want to prove me wrong, I have no idea of any woman who's actually in the space of computing and has moved to the rank, or rather moved up the different degrees I've actually moved up to. So other than just celebrating that, hey, my daughter is you see now, when it comes to the African society, you are a child of the community. So when I say daughter is a community daughter, our daughter has a PhD, but question is, how many of this, or what have you as a society nurtured, or rather how are you nurturing this young girl from a primary level to actually now come to a space where she's been able to like even have a doctorate in a space where people think that it's just a space only for men. And that's the reason I usually say, let's work together. It's an ecosystem, but we usually just work together and be able to say, okay, now working together, we are seeing each other just scaling up. And there's nothing as beautiful as showing a legit and showing a very legit journey, or even like being even consciously showing how actually like grown up from one particular stage to another. It is not wrong to actually say I flunked something. People flunk their KCSEs. KCSE, you're actually judged by one exam, yeah. But now when it comes to university, you're judged by multiple exams. You're still judged from first year all the way to fourth year. That's an aggregation of what honors you have or a pass that you actually have. So question is, through this, am I able to actually like say, okay, now I have a journey to actually like tell. And this particular journey, I started from there. I have to be deliberate. I need to actually like do this and this and this and actually reach a particular space. And once you actually so clear of what you actually want, it's so amazing how with a lot of discipline, you actually grow into that. So for some of us, by the way, we flunked our KCSE. My dad can tell you that story. We flunked our KCSE, but what actually happened is that I started from a level that even when I'm actually telling people that I have a PhD, they look at me like, hey, and where did you start? Started from the very lowest. But at that particular point is that what actually built me? The right attitude and the discipline and consistency. So question is, do you have the right attitude? Are you consistent? And are you disciplined to actually like now scale up, go higher these particular spaces? And yeah, and that's what I actually just would actually urge the girls to actually just look at. And it actually pays.
I like being given concepts and then just working my way around it to find solutions. And that's what mathematics and tech offers. You're just given, this is Python, here are the codes, so can you use them to solve problems, or can you create other codes to solve these problems? So being able to sort of engage my mind in that aspect was important for me. I once went to an interview and a recruiter asked me, why are you all over the place? You seem like you don't know yourself. And at first that took me back. I'm like, yes, I have a background in finance. I'm doing marketing. I'm studying data, so I'm all over the place. But sitting down and looking at it, I saw it as I'm acquiring transferable skills. These are skills that when I lock them down and just explore them, I'll be able to do more rather than just being in a specific industry. Me having tech skills, me having research skills will not only help me in tech industry, I can also transition to healthcare. I can go to academia. So there's a whole range of things that I can do with the skills that I have. So right now, if someone would ask me, why are you all over the place? I would just say I'm not all over the place. I'm basically collecting skills so that once I'm where I want to be, then I'm unstoppable. Tech is looked at as a very male-dominated, it's not even looked at, it's a very male-dominated industry. Sort of you have to fight your way to have your space at the table. So at times it's scary. One, when you're starting and you don't even know who to look up to, because there are not so many people who are also willing to mentor you. But I would say my experience has not really been hard, per se, when it comes to Qhala, because I'm in a company where it's women-led. So you get to see these people who have accomplished so much in their lives, and they're women, and then you get the motivation that if they're there, then they can also make it. Another thing would be cultural interferences. We're coming from various homes where there are certain careers that are the careers that are known. So when you come up with things that are not really known to the one who's paying school fees, for lack of a better word, then it becomes an issue. So you have to fight constantly to explain yourself, to tell them that we can't all go to medicine, we can't all go to law. There are so many things that you can do, and tech is just one of them. So majorly it would be not having a seat on the table, mostly just lack of representation. And then also when you work, there are instances when you get to work with people and they don't really value your feedback simply because you're a woman. So you don't know what you're saying. It's happened once and it's not really a good experience. So sort of to have to prove yourself each and every time. I know what I'm saying, I know what I'm doing. It frustrates. It's quite hard. And at times you feel like giving up, but then you remember there are other people who are looking up to you. And one day you want to be that person, that inspiration that will drive more people to tech.
I'll take a good example of maybe somebody who's using a wheelchair or using the clashes. If they work, for example, for a remote company, then they don't have to go through the hassle of showing up to work. And if it's for someone like a dyslexic, or maybe somebody who will be forced, maybe like an autistic person who doesn't really like engaging as much, but they're technically abled, and they don't have to feel intimidated to show up in an office where they're forced to engage with their peers, that would be a good area to invest in. And like I said, the tech space has a diverse area and components you could invest in. You could be a designer, you could be a software engineer, you could venture into all these spaces and work where you're most comfortable in. The good thing about the people with special needs, they have specific talents. And most of their specific talents are numerical. They're very good with numbers. You will find, because some have like coordination challenges and stuff like that, but for most that have like the numerical talent, this is an area they could invest in, because maybe they may not be good in a class to teach, because then they are forced to overtalk, which is stretching them. But you have, a manager who says, I need this coded, I just need this produced. They're comfortable just working in their own space and just living their normal lives as usual.
The first step for sure for me is women taking up more leadership opportunities. In all the research I've done in the past, I was also a researcher for a while. There's always few women participating in any technology-related fields, which sucks. If you look at engineering classes or computer science classes, yes, there's many women going in now, but in the past that was not the case. We were few. So if more women can take on those science subjects, it will make a difference in getting them to contribute to engineering. Because I've worked in so many engineering teams and I've seen how women reason in certain projects, there's something always missing. Women, we always take in something from a 3D perspective. We have the emotional bit, and then we have the logical bit and the practical bit. I feel like, we feel there's no space for that. There's space for that in boardrooms. Sometimes when decisions are being made, especially in the tech space, look at AI, look at robotics and hardware, and all these kind of bills that are coming in. someone is always looking at it from a very narrow lens, and I found I could be biased that women have more 3D and all-round perspective on it. But at the same time, also, I feel like it's great to just have more women. For diversity's sake, it's quite unpopular. One of the best things that's happening this year and last year, I'm part of a couple of organizations like the ASEC, the Association of Startup Enablers, where we're seeing more women in leadership. So there's a lot of hubs and accelerators across Kenya and Africa at large, which are now providing access to entrepreneurship opportunities and support to startups and women, any woman running a business or men, etc. So we have more hubs, which means access to funding and training opportunities, which means more ideas can come to life. So women participating in this kind of support is great. And then we're seeing support from government from the policy side. So it started about 10 years ago with the Women Fund, but now we're seeing more VCs coming in with dedicated funding for women. Access to funding has always been a bottleneck for women, but nowadays it's packaged as access to funding and the training, which is a great opportunity to bring women from lack of know-how to more know-how, to exposure and to great things. I'm inspired by stories from the West, like the leader from Canva. I think she's a lady and she's managing such a great ecosystem, and that shines also a brighter light for what things we can aspire to. $1 billion is suddenly looking like a reality because you can trace her steps of how she got there. What else is needed for women in emerging fields? Nowadays, we have more women communities. You can find them easily either on meetup.com or local innovation hubs, which have events pages. And these communities, I was lucky when I was in leadership, the senior leaders who managed me always plugged me into a support group. For example, when I was a chief of operations in some company, I was in a chief of operations group. We have the Women in Tech Network in Kenya, which is great. We have the Women in Security Network, which I'm also part of, which is great. And what's happening here is they're pushing us to practice our skills. They're pushing us to showcase our skills. They're pushing us to share opportunities and get access to opportunities. And then also learning opportunities that are available. So most of the time we speak in events, we don't know that you can go speak in an event and get paid. Well, I think me included, we need to take up more leadership. I'm always happy working behind the scenes, but sometimes we need to step up and lead teams and get into the knack of things. I think we have a lot of ideas to offer the world. We're always solving problems behind the scenes, and then other people take the credit for it. And when someone does it who is closer to you, you get more encouraged and motivated. So last year, because I'm in the robotics space, I kept getting called to do AI talks. We did AI in Campus and I passed, but I never really used it beyond that. So how I've pivoted this year, my narrative on AI is it's doable and it's teachable. I think people are scared about it because they don't know what is AI and what is possible. So things we're doing to demystify AI are creating awareness of what AI is, creating awareness on tools that can be used. There's so many free tools now that people can use to get started. ChatGPT has been a great entry point where you're using AI to, do a lot, like your assistant. So that's been great. I think the scary part, and even for me, was that I would have to do machine learning. I'm not very interested in machine learning.
Analyzing yourself, seeing what your skills are, and having them align with what is on demand in the market. For example, you can find there's not many people who are doing data or AI, and you can find that as your market and make sure that by the time you want to have your role full on in the workspace, you're really good at what you do. So just an aspect of demand and supply. So you're really ready there to supply your skills, and you've also found it to be a loophole in the market. Yeah, another thing I'd say is having a really good connection and network, because that's one thing that really helps you, and it's really critical, especially in building your career, because if you just sit and not show that you have all these different skills and talents, it's going to be very hard for you to progress. And also just approaching people, like not holding back, don't be shy, like when you're in like a meeting, a conference or something, have the courage to walk up to someone and tell them that you're interested in that field, and you never know where that may lead.